fantastic? Thank you, Brandon, Lisa, and Kristen. Well, here tonight to assist Dr. Cope in presenting our next award of the evening is recent UNLV president and now special advisor to President Lynn Jessup, Mr. Don Snyder. Don, if you could come up here, please.
It's a real honor and pleasure for me to be here tonight. It was something over 27 years ago when Dee and I first moved to Las Vegas, to Nevada, that we had a reception. There were a lot of people from the community, a lot of people that are in the room tonight, and it was introducing Dee and me to the community when I came here as the CEO of First Interstate Bank, like I say, more than 27 years ago. And at that reception, Keith Boman came up on stage afterwards and introduced himself. And that started a friendship that has continued to today. A friendship that has covered a lot of ground. It was our families growing up together for the first many years. We saw the water skiing photo. We did that. We snow skied. We both had the chance to fly in the backseat of an F-16. We've been to race car driving school together. We've had a chance to share a tremendous amount of different experiences. But it was about 20 years or so ago that we were in the same meeting room at the Golden Nugget when we talked about building a world-class performing arts center. And that journey has continued to today. It was 3 years ago that we opened the Smith Center. I'm very proud of that. And from all the things that I've had the opportunity to do with Keith, the thing that probably I take away from all these experiences is an understanding. He had both a passion and an understanding of the performing arts that was incredible. I learned the passion from him. I gained the passion from him. I never learned the technical side of the arts, but it was with great pride that I sat, Dee and I sat and watched the last 5 years and saw what I experienced over the course of the last 27 years that I've known Keith in terms of his passion, his understanding for the arts, his commitment to the arts. And so tonight, for us to be able to induct Dr. Keith Boman is something that I take great pleasure in being able to be part of. So Keith, congratulations to you. You deserve this. You've done a wonderful job for our community, and thank you.
Chair of the Department of Theater and Executive Director of Nevada Conservatory Theater, is out of town. In fact, he's out recruiting fantastic graduate students for the Department of Theater. The Theater Department's a member of URTA, the University Resident Theater Association, which you don't just join, you have to apply. We've been a member for years, and it has little places like UT Austin, Penn State, University of Washington, and we are one of the schools of about 25 members, so Brackley's out recruiting. But he did send this and said, I would like to personally thank Dr. Keith Boman for his support of our theater company with a generous grant from the Reynolds Foundation. In addition to the successful joint production of the last 5 years, we will be able to bring numerous guest artists to the next 4 years, thanks to the work of Dr. Boman, from Professor Frere. On behalf of the College of Fine Arts, it's with great pleasure that we present Dr. Keith Boman with our 2015 Nevada Entertainer Artist Hall of Fame Sydney Award. Congratulations.
Every time I watch the president, they give a speech, they come up with a folder. It seems easier. We'll see how it works. Well, I'm blown away by this evening. I had no idea this was going to happen. The last 5 years was something that I fell in love with when I saw it in an amateur production 6 years ago. And I put it on my bucket list, and someday I want to bring this wonderful musical theater piece with a beautiful score to Las Vegas at a professional level. And it was all about the timing. And the time was right last year to do this. But it's a very, very special theater piece that required a theater like the Judy Bailey Theater. The Smith Center just didn't have the capacity in terms of seats and the staging to do this. And after looking for a place, I woke up one night and the light went on, Judy Bailey. And the next day I called Brackley, and the rest is history. We were able to bring New York talent. We were able to have an orchestra of local people who was superb, and combine all of this with really the most dedicated theater staff that I've ever worked with. Now that's not to say it was easy, but if I had the chance to do it over again, I would do it in a New York minute. The UNLV Theater Department rocks. They were great. And I really want to express my So, on a serious note, I really never saw this coming, the letter of invitation from you, from the theater department. And it makes me reflect that how nice it is at some point in my life to be recognized for just doing the things that I love. And as you know, I love the arts. All parts of the arts. And now, I'm up here with, names like Tony Curtis, Clint Holmes, and Robert Goulet. Do you remember his song, If Ever I Would Leave You? By the way, that was his first performance on Broadway. And what you may not know is I had a performance way off of Broadway. I was the lead in Oklahoma in 1967 at the 9th Street Theater down by the Academy. And at that time I had a lot of curly hair, and that's how I got the lead. It seems like, to me, I'm just a lucky local guy who was encouraged to dream big, and then a lot of those dreams came true. So I wondered to myself, how did this happen? How did I get here tonight? I'm a cardiologist. This isn't what most cardiologists do. And I still don't know how I found the time to do it, but I did. And I know that you've heard it before, no man is island. These things don't happen by yourselves. There's people out there, and you know who you are, that have supported me for the last 34 years that I've been in Las Vegas practicing, working on the various committees and boards that we put together. And I want you to know how much I appreciate the fact that this didn't happen because of Keith, it happened because of all of us. And you took a risk, and you helped support some of my dreams, some of our dreams, and here we are today, the Smith Center, in the last 5 years, and all the other wonderful things in Super Summer Theater that are part of our life today in Las Vegas. So, thinking a bit deeper, I'm really trying to figure how did this really happen? So I'd like to share a very short story. And believe it or not, it's called Who Packs Your Parachutes? And this is a true story. So, and it goes like this. Charles Plum was a U.S. Navy jet pilot in Vietnam. After 75 combat missions, his plane was destroyed by a surface-to-air missile. Plum ejected and parachuted into enemy hands. He was captured and spent 6 years in a communist Vietnamese prison. He survived the ordeal and now lectures on lessons that he learned from this experience. So one day, when Plum and his wife were sitting in a restaurant, and a man at another table came up and said, "You're Plum. You flew jet fighters in Vietnam from the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. You were shot down." "How in the world do you know that?" asked Plum. "Well, I packed your parachute," the man replied. Plum gasped in surprise and gratitude. The man shook his head and said, I guess it worked. So Plum assured him, he said, it sure did. If your chute hadn't worked, I wouldn't be here today. Think about it. So Plum couldn't sleep that night thinking about this man. Plum said, I kept wondering what he looked like in a Navy uniform. I wonder how many times I might have seen him and not even said good morning or how are you. He was, you see, just a sailor, and I was a fighter pilot. Plum thought of the many hours the sailor had spent at a long wooden table in the bows of the ship, carefully weaving the shrouds and folding the silks of each parachute, holding in his hand each time the fate of someone he didn't know. Now Plum asked his audiences, who's packing your parachutes? So now I ask that question to myself. Who packed my parachute to help me navigate the 50 plus years from teenage time to now? And as I mentioned, there's so many of you here that have done that, so many that aren't here, but I so appreciate the help that I've gotten along the way. But I thought about it even deeper. You probably saw in your program a picture of a young, good-looking guy on the beach waking up from a night's sleep in a place called Lake Powell. We often look at the picture and say, oh, that's cool. But what we don't do is we don't ask ourselves, who took that picture? How did that happen? Well, it made me think deeply about who was the person, aside from my parents, that over these 50 years really, really packed my parachute. And tonight, I want to take the opportunity to thank the person that when I was in high school, for 2 years at Clark High School, who taught me perseverance. He encouraged by participating in the arts. It wasn't cool at the time. He taught me how to enjoy the outdoors and appreciate the desert Southwest. And most of all, because this gentleman was an English teacher, head of the English department at Clark High School, he taught me how to write, how to communicate. And all the things I think about over the 50 years and the successes I've had, and some that I haven't had, it involves writing and communicating, something that a lot of us never learned to do. Well, this gentleman also took a risk on me, practically adopted me into his family. We've been on dozens of trips together. He was even there when I started my first IV in medical school in Washington, D.C. He was there. The irony of all this, as he mentored me over the years, the circle of life has brought us back together. Now I take care of him. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce, if you would please stand in the back with the lights up, Mr. John Harrington. There is no doubt I'm not the only student whose parachute we packed, but I want you to know, John, that not a day goes by that I don't think about the things that I've learned from you, and I think you are the person that's responsible, really, for getting me here today. You packed my parachute, we landed with both feet, and I never looked back. Thank you for me and from all the students over these many, many years that you've mentored and helped. We love you, and I look forward to many more good years of hanging out. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity.